Are you a woman over 40 who's thinking about making a radical life decision, a radical change in your personal life, your professional life, or maybe both? Then today's interview could be really interesting for you because Christine was a very high ranking executive at both Amazon and Walmart, and she really had the life that looked like she had it all. She had a fiance, she lived in San Francisco, she had a $1.1 million condo, and she was traveling between New York City and San Francisco as a high ranking executive. And deep down, she was dissatisfied. And so, right before she turned 40, she decided to make a radical change, both in her career life and in her personal life. And she chose to leave her fiance, leave her condo, leave both of her jobs, and completely start over as a YouTuber, a content creator, and a drone specialist. Talk about out of left field. Hi, my name is Hannah, and after burning out over the age of 40, I decided to take some time to rediscover what I really wanted and reinvent myself to be who I really wanted to be. Along the way, I'm talking to other women in their late 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond who have reinvented themselves in a wide variety of ways to show me and you that no matter where we are in life, we can start living the life that we want to live, starting as soon as today. And that no matter where you are, no matter what it seems like, you always have more options than you think. So welcome to She Reinvented. So stay tuned to discover how Christine finally came to that decision, what the turning point was in her life that made her realize she wasn't even living the life that she wanted to be living. And then how she got up the courage to say something to her then fiance, how she approached that, and also how she put a plan into place. And then on the flip side, how she discovered this other side of herself that was the content creator side. So she's not only making a radical change in her romantic life, she's making a radical change in her professional life. She's discovering that she loves traveling, especially traveling with cruises. And so this is kind of the beginning of her exploration stage of the content creator side of her. Again, at age 39, right before her 40th birthday. Then you want to stick to the end because a surprise element happens kind of right at the beginning of this new phase of her story that adds just one more thing that she has to think about and really switches her life into a completely new direction. So this is a corporate runaway story. This is follow who you really want to be story. It's not everything is perfect and it all worked out easily every step along the way story. But hopefully it can give you some insights and inspiration into your own life, your own journey, just to hear how somebody else dealt with some of these things. Another woman close to the age of 40 who then turns 40. So without further ado, let's get into Christine's story. At the age of 34, Christine Lozada gave up the corporate life of Walmart and Amazon. She left her husband and her $1.1 million condo in San Francisco and gave two middle fingers to all the things everyone told her she should be doing. Instead, she decided to go travel the world and become a YouTuber and beach travel focused content creator. And now at the age of 40, she flies drones, scuba dives with manta rays, and teaches millions of people how to travel smarter and how to fly their own drones like a boss. So welcome, Christine.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Me too. I'm so excited to have you. You have so many different reinvention stories, as often is the case. But I would put you into the category of corporate runaway. I'm sure some people, at least, might be living in the corporate world now. Maybe they're dreaming of running away themselves. So, but before we get started, where are you located right now? And what's the view outside your window?
Ooh, I like to tell people that I keep a boyfriend in South Florida. And between my trips, I spend time here editing, catching up in my office, and obviously trying to maintain my relationship with him. So, for
Okay.
on average 6 days a month, I'm in South Florida. So, right now, I'm looking outside on kind of a rainy day in South Florida, but I just got back from Bonaire Island from scuba
Oh,
diving and flying drones. But that's what I'm looking at
wow.
outside my window.
Okay. Oh, nice. So South Florida is your home base.
I would call it my home base. I split my time between here and San Diego, but it all
Okay.
just depends on, like, where I'm traveling to next and where I'm coming from.
Okay. So I did kind of give you an introduction to your reinvention story, but in your own words, if someone were to ask you, "Hey, I heard you were on a podcast about a reinventing yourselves," what would you say?
I always tell people that I left the corporate world to live a life of adventure, help people to travel smarter, and to fly drones, and to
Mm,
step out of their comfort zones. Because
mm,
one thing that I didn't believe in, which we'll unpack this story, is that anyone can reinvent themselves and anyone
mm.
can redesign their lives.
I love that. I love that. So take me back to the in the throes of corporate world. You're working for Amazon or Walmart. I'm not sure which one. Take me back to right before something shifts that you've just starting to go a different path. Where were you right before something started to shift?
Yeah, I worked for both of those companies and split my time working for Walmart.com when I was living in San Francisco, and then Amazon when I was living in New York City.
Mhm.
And during that time, I had my life, everyday life looked like that commute to work. In San Francisco, it was a long drive, and in New York City, it was taking 3 subways to get to work so that you could go into your 4 walls of your cubicle and type away for 12 to 14 hours a day, feeling like you were with a ball and chain slaving away at your desk. But
Mhm.
it also at the same time felt so comfortable. It was
Mm.
so right. It was everything everyone taught me to do and told me I should be doing. Plus, I was moving up in these companies. And so my life back then just felt like, yeah, like this is the right thing I should be doing. And it was confirmed every day because I was getting feedback from, from friends, from family, letting me know, like, wow, you're doing so well. Like, saw you got that promotion, like saw you're working on that project or saw that fill in the blank. And it just felt like I was doing the right thing. And I felt blind to what else there potentially was in life. But that's what my life used to look like.
And you also had as did you have a husband at that point? Were you in a
I
relationship at that
did.
point? So
When
you
I when
no,
I
go
was
ahead.
in San Francisco, I met my now ex-husband, and we had moved together to New York City, and he and I were perfect on paper together. Where,
Mm,
he went to business school at NYU, he did corporate strategy for Amex and then later for Wells Fargo. Like we were like the power couple that everyone looked up to. And to be honest, we were very happy with each other by
mhm,
the standards that I understood relationships to be happy in that kind of a lifestyle, living in the cities and working your corporate jobs. And we were together for 9 years.
hmm. So you're happy, you have a great job, friends look up to you. Something must have shifted at some point, maybe internally or externally. What happened to kind of start a different thought in your mind that maybe this isn't the life that you want?
Yeah, and I think a lot of that comes from starting to listen because for me, it wasn't that like big shift. I felt like I was the frog in the cold water, not realizing that it was on a heat surface and this water has become boiling, and now I'm a cooked frog. It was these small signals over time as the water was starting to heat up and boil, where I would I'd work these long days in the office and I would come home so late, like sometimes 10, 11 p.m. at night and be like, well, now I need to like run my errands and live my personal life. And like, there's not enough time. And when I say I lived in San Francisco, New York City, I didn't live on the outskirts. I lived in the heart of the city in these beautiful neighborhoods, but I never had time to enjoy that except on the weekends after I was done trying to catch up on all the emails and like that didn't feel right. It's like, why am I not enjoying the city? Why on
Mhm,
the weekends am I not being able to enjoy my free time? And then it was like more things, right? Like, hey, you're getting another promotion. Hey, here's another bonus. You're doing good work. Here's more work, which became now I had more time I needed to spend at work. And that was another small thing where I was like, it doesn't feel right. And even though I was making more money, I always felt broke. I always felt like when we would go out to dinner, like, wow, dining in New York City and San Francisco is not cheap, but like, you're spending all this money and it's like, why do I feel so poor, yet my
mhm,
paychecks are so large? And all of these small things were starting to really pile up to a point where I started questioning more things. And one of the things I questioned the most was, hey, I get it. I don't really even get that much vacation time per year, the 14 days, but why do I feel so guilty every single time I take all 14 days? Why do I feel like the corporate world's telling me, no, you should only take a couple of those days if you really need them, and then save them all up for when you leave the job and get paid out on your vacation days, or roll them over so you can get paid out. And it's like, why? I'm never enjoying myself the way I want to enjoy myself. And that was when the travel one really started to make me feel like there's something about this picture's not right, because I can't even use the benefits that I have, whether the city, whether my money, whether my vacation time. I didn't feel like I could truly enjoy any of them.
Hmm. So was travel something that you had always enjoyed? Was that a part of you, or is that a new thing that you found later in life?
Oh, that's a good one, because it's in part one that I truly discovered later in life, but was one that I always felt like when you get home and your dog's really excited, you're gonna take your dog for a walk and it's like freaking out and it's on the leash and it like wants to get out. That's how I felt growing up traveling with my family,
Mm,
because my parents loved very strict itinerary. Everyone stays together. You have like every single hour of your vacation like planned out. And growing up, all I wanted to do was go explore. Like I just wanted to go wander somewhere or go check something out or go look at what's on the other side of the fill in the blank. And it wasn't until I became an adult that I started traveling more on my own. But because of the lifestyle I had, I'm so exhausted from this corporate job. I'm so exhausted by my everyday life that travel wasn't travel. Travel for me was vacation. It was
mm,
lounging at the resort. It was just vegging out, like relaxing from your life. So I wasn't truly able to travel until much later, in which this was before my husband. I took a trip with someone I was dating who truly knew how to travel. And I dropped into this tiny part of Guatemala in which there was a one room airport. And as soon as you landed, like I was like, wow, they just throw your bags off the plane and you are in the middle of it all. And that was a really big eye-opening experience for me, in which I was like, ooh, this is the type of travel that I want to play with.
oh,
And I started just dabbling in more types of trips like that,
mm.
mixed in with the normal travel that I was doing.
So that awoken something within you.
It made me
Oh,
realize there's something else, that it
yeah.
doesn't have to be the 4-star, 5-star luxury resort. It
Mhm.
could be the adventure. That
Mm,
is really what fills you.
mm. What year was that Guatemala trip?
Oh, I love all these years. This is a good question. This was right before my boyfriend,
'Cause
or
I
my
was in Guatemala
ex-husband.
in 2013, so I was just
Oh,
wondering if
yeah.
yeah.
No, this was like circa 2007, maybe.
Oh,
Like,
okay,
this was
okay.
early,
This
early.
is
Like, I
earlier
had
before
this
that.
taste, but it felt like I kept having to vacation, but wanted more trips like
Mm.
that. But Guatemala is an amazing place for
Oh,
adventure.
it's so beautiful. It is so beautiful. Mhm. One of the most I tell people it's one of the most physically beautiful countries I've ever been to. So, are you actually flying between San Francisco, New York, or is it first one, then the other?
One, then the other, then back.
Then
So I was
back.
San
Got it.
Francisco with Walmart, left to go to New York for Amazon, and then went back to San Francisco,
Okay.
and that was when I made the jump to become a remote employee.
But they're both kind of cubicle worlds,
Oh, they are both definitely cubicle
cubicle
worlds.
life. Uh-huh. Okay. And with the same boyfriend
S
slash husband, same partner.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. So you had a chance to go remote.
Mhm.
Is that kind of the next maybe turning point that led you down the path to where
It
you are
is.
now?
So I was starting to have that almost like, the guilty feeling of using all my vacation time combined with that feeling in my gut that was growing, that this isn't right, that I
Mhm.
wanted more travel, more time to explore the rest of the world. And I had a turning point during that time in which my partner slash ex-husband now, he had just finished his business degree at NYU, and he had a summer before he went to go start work. And I was like, do something amazing. I was like, go ride your bike from here to, and I like named somewhere super far. I think I named somewhere like eventually one of his friends was going to be, it was like Boston or something like that. And so he set out on this totally self-supported, like 10-day bike ride. And during that time, he got T-boned by a car. And
Oh my
he
gosh.
was, I don't wanna say he was perfectly fine. He, emergency services, went to the hospital, had this whole thing where he was laid out for, luckily, only a few weeks, but spent time in the hospital. Um, Everything was able to be fixed, but I had this moment in which I took time off of work to take care of him, and it was one of those moments where you're like, "What is really important to you in life? Like, what is it that you wanna be spending your time doing?" And it was at that time that I was like, I don't feel like I have my priorities right.
Mm,
And it inspired me to leave my current job at that time at Amazon. And I started to look for a remote job that allowed me just to be anywhere. And then this was in 2013. I mean, in 2020, lots of people were remote, but like I was
mm,
using Zoom way back when, lots of video conferencing calls back then. And I found a company in Michigan that allowed me to do the same work I was doing already. But all I had to do was be in Michigan 1 week a month to be able to be with my project team.
mm,
And I was like, "I wanna try this," and took this different path that for 7 years, I was a remote employee,
mm.
traveling anywhere I wanted to, but would just spend 1 week in Michigan a month. That
And
was awesome.
where was the first place you traveled as this remote worker? Where did you first go?
Nowhere sexy, like, nowhere sexy at all, but it was just like that taste of freedom. Like, even if you asked me, like, "Where was it?" I'd be like, "I don't actually even know." Because
Mm,
for that role, I also would travel a lot to meet with clients or customers, or travel to do market research, or travel to
mhm,
go to conferences, and what I started doing was I would just extend every trip. So instead of,
mm,
for example, going to Nashville, Tennessee, and I would just be there for, the 2-day meetings. I would stay for a week and a half and just hang
mm.
out and explore, and then go back home after that. And
So
so I just started extending the trips.
so you're starting to get a taste for life outside the office, life outside of work, it sounds
Oh,
like.
and it tasted so good.
Was there a moment during this time in your life when something awoke in you and you thought, "Oh, okay, there's something going on here." Like some
Yeah.
sort of hint as to what might be coming?
Yeah. So during this time, I started traveling places, and, I'd post a little bit, not too much, on social media.
And what was the
Uh,
social media back then that you were using? Because 'Cause we're
in
talking
ins
2013. Instagram existed, but I don't know if
Yeah,
people
not
were really
really, like,
using it.
Instagram a little bit, and then, like, Facebook.
Mhm,
Um, yeah, definitely Facebook. So I'd
mhm,
kinda, like, post about where I was, and also, friends would just talk to me about, like, where I was, and I'd be showing them pictures off my phone when we were hanging out together, and people started asking the same questions over and over again. "Oh, I saw you were in Nashville yet again, like, what was that place that you ate at?" Or, like, "What else did you do on your trip?" Or, like, "Where did you stay?" And, like, people just started asking the same questions over and over and over, and I was like, I need a systematic way to just send them something where everyone asks the same questions. And so
mhm,
I started dabbling in making videos
hmm,
of the places I was traveling to. And I realized, like, oh my gosh, what a fun creative outlet. Like, I loved capturing these trips, both for myself and to be able to help my friends and family travel. And so I started playing just a little bit with that, and would, like, capture more things. Or when I would go on trips with friends, I would capture, like, a fun little video of recapping the whole thing, and then, like, have the recap of, like, where I went and things like that. And that's what kind of started this idea of, and I didn't do it. I didn't do it immediately, but that's what started this idea of, like, maybe I should
hmm,
be on YouTube with this
hmm.
content.
Now at this point, is this the point when you had left your husband, or are you still with your husband at this
Oh, I'm
point?
still with him.
Okay, and how is this working where you're traveling and that's a new element to the
Oh, he
relationship?
hates it. Oh, yeah,
Okay.
he's not about it. And what was
Mhm.
interesting was kind of like the frog in boiling water. It was a change over time where he and I were 2 very individual people who would, like, love spending time together, but over time, he wanted me home more and more. And
Well, the
over
more you were
time.
gone, he probably wanted you home because you were probably already before you were home. Now that you're not home.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And so he was asking me to travel less and less.
Mm.
But I had this freedom that I had worked so hard to create. Like it wasn't luck that I fell into this job. Like I sought it out. And, I shared the story of how, I found another job that was similar to what I was doing. It was remote. Like that was not an easy process. That was a
Mhm.
year-long grind of
Mm.
over 63 interviews with dozens of companies, like trying to find exactly the right thing and holding off every time I would get a good offer, holding off to make sure, like, is this truly going to give me what I want? Because
Mm.
what I want is not necessarily more money. That will just put me in the same situation as before
Mhm.
with slightly more income, but I'm still in the same position as before. And so now that I have what I want and he's asking me to stay home more, it's it's becoming this, and I don't want to call it an argument because it was so slow over time. It was just this push and pull of like feeling guilt while away, but feeling guilt that I should be using my freedom when we're together. Yet he's at the office all day anyway, so it's not like we're truly together. And so I just try to be home on the weekends more often.
Mm.
And it was definitely a challenging time, I'll say that.
Mm. Kat, what were you doing? What was your job title that you were doing, in case somebody's listening and they're curious?
Yeah, at this time I was product marketing.
Okay.
So I went from doing like marketing and business strategy and merchandising from Walmart and Amazon to doing product marketing and e-commerce
Mm.
for a furniture company. And
Oh, okay.
so the role that I had was mainly listening to the customer needs and observing the customer needs, translating that over to our design team to create a product. And my other portion of my role was how can we get that product as well as all of our current products available for sale through e-commerce versus just through brick and mortar stores. That was
Mm.
my job at the time.
Mm. Mm.
It
And
wasn't easy.
it actually sounds like a lot of work. It sounds like a lot of work.
That was
Yeah.
lower.
Yeah. But
I'm not gonna lie.
but you
Not
were you
saying
were
not saying YouTube is easy, but yeah, that
yeah.
was that was not easy.
But you were getting something that you wanted out of it, which was to be remote. You wanted more freedom from the office, it sounds like.
Yeah.
But your husband is at that time, your then husband, is not maybe loving this. Was this kind of a slow process of what, or a fast process? Is this the kind of the beginning of how this relationship ended?
Oh, it's definitely the beginning of the end.
Mhm.
This amongst other things, but it was not a fast one. It was a slow one over time, where this just was an addition to the other things that were starting to not really work out.
Mhm.
Because he and I both had very different views of what we wanted from our lives overall. Like he really wanted to settle down. He really wanted to, for example, you mentioned our $1.1 million condo. I was like, "These are the 3 things I want out of that. Go find it. Like, I'll sign the papers on the day, but I don't wanna be involved with it, like, at all."
Hmm.
And, like, these are things that he wanted where I was compromising with him, but I was not ready to settle down. I was ready for a life of adventure,
Mhm.
and that turned into a lot of different things in terms of what we wanted.
Mhm. Sometimes we subconsciously know this, but we don't consciously know it. It kind of sounds like that's what was happening with you. Subconsciously, you didn't really want this life. When did it become conscious to you that you consciously decided, okay, I know for sure I don't want this corporate life with the $1.1 million condo, and I'm now actively deciding against it?
Yeah, it was after dodgeball. That's gonna be a weird lead in, but I was the team captain of our dodgeball team for many, many years, like over 7 years, and I loved playing dodgeball. We played on a team together,
Was this a corporate
and
or an extracurricular
just
thing?
an
Okay.
extracurricular. Yeah, so much fun. It looks exactly like Dodgeball the movie, by the way. We were very serious and we were very undefeated. But I
Hmm.
remember coming home, or no, not even coming home yet. I went to the team would always go to the bar afterwards. We were at the bar after Dodgeball, and I just had this feeling where I was like, "I don't wanna go home. I don't wanna go home." I'm like, "I don't wanna go home." And in this moment, I normally will try to work it through my head and be like, okay, this is why, and this is why, logically, this is how I'm feeling. But it was just in my gut. I was like, I don't want to go home. And in that moment, I was like, I think it's time to leave. I'm like, I'm too happy. And actually this dodgeball game had happened right after recently after he and I had taken our honeymoon. Three things had happened. We had gotten married. Uh, that wedding was by far the best party I've ever been to in my life. It was very fun. We created an amazing event. We went on this amazing honeymoon in Japan and Hawaii. It was phenomenal. And we had recently closed on the house, and we were now moved into our
Wow.
condo. We had everything. He had just gotten promoted at Amex at Wells Fargo. He just got promoted at Wells Fargo. We had all the things that everyone was so proud of. And yet I didn't feel happy. And we had just played this amazing game of dodgeball. Like, yet we won yet again. Like, I had all my friends around me. We had just had everything that you should want in that lifestyle. And I'm like, if I can't be happy right now, then what? Like, Christine, what are you getting yourself into? Because just now you have opened a lot of new doors with this marriage, with this house, with this fill in the blank. And if you do not close that door right now, you are going to start digging yourself into this in a way that will make it very complicated to climb your way out. And that was when I called for a break. And I was
Wow.
like, I need a break. I need time.
With
I need
your
time.
then husband.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was not happy about that. But I was like, this is what I need. I was like, give me a month. Give me a month. I just want to live my own life and not think about anything else except what I want, like what I truly want, because I felt so far from that. Because again, I'm still living under this idea of I know all the things that I should want. I know all the things that my society that I live in right now is telling me I should be working toward. But is that truly what I want? Is that truly what's making me happy? And I knew it wasn't. And I took that month to give myself time to think about it. And I never went back.
And what did you do during that month? Because that's when you had already bought your $1.1 million condo. I'm assuming you
Oh,
didn't
yes.
live there. What did you
No.
do?
During that time, I went and I lived with different friends. I spent a week living with different friends around San Francisco. And during that time was when I went on a cruise with my family. I went on a cruise with my family, and it was my dad's milestone 60th birthday. It was my dad's birthday. And in general, like family trips, it's like, my nephew wants something, my sister wants to do something else. My parents have their own itinerary. Like, I want to go adventure, and like everyone's kind of doing different things. But this was the first time my family came together and just had an epic time together. And I've never seen everybody so happy before. And I was genuinely just enjoying being on this cruise, seeing my family so happy together. And we would spend every waking moment together from, 8 a.m. breakfast until they went to bed at 9 p.m. And when they would go to bed at 9 p.m., I was going out. Like, I was going to go out. And I was not looking. But that was when going out on that cruise, which was during that month that I split up from my husband. I'm not proud to talk about this, but I'm happy to talk about it because I listened to my gut and I met somebody. That was when I met Lou, whom I call Meatball, my boyfriend, my now boyfriend, whose house I'm in right now recording this podcast episode 6 years later.
Wow. That was in 2018?
That was in
I
2018.
was 18, age of 34.
Yeah.
Wow. And I know now, and people who go to your Instagram will see you love cruises. You're really into cruises. And
Yeah.
so was this the time that your love of cruises was sparked, or had you always loved cruises?
That's a good question. So this is contrary to what a lot of people think, is that I actually don't like cruising.
Oh, okay.
What's interesting about cruising is it goes back to what I talked about before, which is there's a difference between traveling and vacationing. I think cruising is fantastic vacation time. Like, everything's done for you. You just go and relax. And there's a place in your lineup of travel and vacationing where cruises should absolutely live. I recommend everyone take a cruise. And it was great for my family because no one was stressed because it was a cruise. But cruising doesn't really allow you to explore the world because while it's great transportation from here to there, you only get, half a day at the port. And you're at the port, which is like the most touristy place, and traveling out of the port is usually a pain in the butt. And so it wasn't until fast forward later in life becoming a YouTuber that I had an opportunity to go on Virgin Voyages, which is, if for those who are listening who aren't aware of this, Virgin Voyages is reimagining the way cruising looks. And so cruising on their cruise line looks totally different than other cruise ships. And kind of to tie a lot of the things you're hearing in this story together, this whole idea of like feeling really alive, being connected with other people, just having a ton of fun, like a lot of fun, and having your priorities, disconnecting, connecting with people, having fun IRL, like being in a very welcoming environment. That is what Virgin Voyages has created. You are now on vacation in a way that you are on vacation with lots of other people who really want to connect with you. And it's an environment that's been created to make all of that come together in a really beautiful way. And so that's why I'm a really big fan of Virgin Voyages, because it allows that kind of other aspect of vacationing that most people don't get.
Hmm.
But cruising, oh, it's a good
But
vacation.
I mean, it sounds like that was an amazing cruise for you. That was a life-changing cruise for you.
Oh, absolutely life-changing.
So you kind of took a break from life. You went for a month to just think on your own what you wanted. Then all of a sudden you meet somebody it sounds like you have a great connection with. Obviously, you're still with this person. Back then you didn't know you were going to be with him, I would assume. What did you do next?
Exactly that. I was having one hell of an oh shit moment where I was like, now it's time to make some changes and make some decisions, big decisions, scary decisions. And I would say two things happened. I made a wildly crazy decision, but I did it with a safety net. And
Mhm.
what I mean by that is, a month after, I continued living with friends in San Francisco. And after the cruise, I had reached out to Lou and just told him, like, wow, what an amazing time. And he asked me to come to Florida. He asked me to come to Florida to spend a weekend with him. And I was like, you know what? Why not? Like, let's just try it out and see what happens. And so I
Can I
flew to
ask a
Florida.
question here?
Yeah,
Some people might say, "Oh, well, she was just trying to escape. This was just an easy escape route." What made you feel that there was some sort of serious connection there?
it's a
And not
really
just
good,
a fling, not just a romance, just to kind of forget your real world, your real life.
it's a good question. I would say it's a combination of two things. One, when I became a remote employee, I started traveling alone a lot. And when you travel alone a lot, you really tune in to you. You tune in to your needs, you tune into what you really want in life. You become very clear about what you do and do not like. And you just get to know yourself in a way that during that time, I became my own best friend, which therefore turned into my ability to make the right decisions for me. The old me would be like, "Oh my gosh, Hannah, hey, can I give you a call? Like, I need some advice on blah, blah, blah." Like, that was very rare that I ever do that anymore, because it's like I know myself so well. And I tune in beyond what's happening in your brain, but you really tune in to what's in your heart and what's in your gut. Because the other thing about traveling alone is you're oftentimes, as a solo female traveler in some crazy part of the world, where it's like you need to turn on your spidey senses, and what you see and what you hear is not necessarily the only information you need, but it's what you feel in that scenario to know if you should get out, or, whoa, like something really cool is going to happen here, stay here. Or you're talking to a stranger and you pick up very quickly on your senses of whether this is oh, this person's my person, or this is not my person, or this person is unsafe. And so I
Hmm.
was very tuned in to myself. And when I met Lou on the cruise, I knew right away when I looked into his eyes that he was my people. He was my person. I saw myself in him in a totally different way, because I'm a San Diego girl who, like, went to Berkeley and grew up straight edge. And like Lou grew up in the hardest part of the Bronx. He sounds like he's from the Bronx. He's a straight up New Yorker. He's I mean, meatball is not a endearing term.
Mhm.
Meatball is what you call an Italian from the Bronx. You know, he's a meatball, like, meh. But we turned it into an endearing term. But when I connected with him, I felt truly connected with him, and I just knew. I knew that he was amazing. Like, I just knew it, and there wasn't a single doubt in my mind. And so
Wow.
that's how I got to the decision point when he was like, "Come out here." And I know that for a lot of people, that's gonna sound really crazy, but that's why I gave this story of, like, I really tuned in after spending when I say I traveled alone, like, think about years of traveling alone. Like, I really got to know myself, and, how I connect with the world and the types of people I connect with. And so I said yes to that trip to Florida. We spent a weekend together, and if I died today or I died when I'm 99, that weekend goes down as the best weekend of my entire life. It was
Wow.
epic.
What did you do? What did you do? What was so great about it? Was it just
We
being with him or
that we
yeah?
just hung out. Like, we hung out in West Palm Beach, which is in South Florida, and we went out, we went dancing, we ate avocado toast for brunch, we had a casual picnic on the beach. Like, we just connected and spent time with each other,
And
and it
can I
was
mention
amazing.
something else that I
Yeah,
do know just from listening to other interviews?
yeah.
Actually, I think it was a solo podcast that you did. He also had a girlfriend at that time. Is that
He
correct?
did. Oh, it's so wrong on paper. Everything is so wrong. I'm not yet divorced. He had a
Some
girlfriend at that time.
sometimes
That is
that's just how life works. I mean, I'm not condoning it, but it's sometimes you just have to make choices in your life to if the right path comes along, you have to take it. So,
true.
what did he have the same feeling right from the get-go about you? Was it kind of mutual that you guys
Yeah.
realized you're gonna start something together?
Exactly. Like, both of us, when we got off of that cruise, he had decided, like, that was his turning point, broke up with his girlfriend, and for me, that was my turning point of knowing I'm never going back to my husband, and
Okay.
started kicking off that process of
Wow.
finding the divorce lawyer, and for him, it was moving out of his girlfriend's house and into his house.
Wow.
We
At that point, how long had it been since you had purchased actually, since you had gotten married and then purchased your condo?
A year and a half since I
Okay.
had been married.
Mm.
And like 3 months since we had that condo,
Mhm. Wow. Wow.
which
Yeah.
actually kind of pains me because that condo was beautiful, and it was in the marina, which is in
Mhm.
a very nice part of San Francisco, and it overlooked the entire bay, San Francisco
Wow.
Bay, and Alcatraz. Like, it
Wow.
was gorgeous. You could see the Golden Gate Bridge from the rooftop, and it had a parking spot, which a parking spot in itself is the cost of rent in lots of places in the United States. Like, it
Especially
was
in San Francisco. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow. So I'm a little bit nosy, curious. What was it like when you came back, had to face reality, and give the news to your husband, your then husband, who was waiting for you to come back, and he's probably thinking, "Return to her senses."
Yeah. Oh, it sucked. It absolutely sucked. I'm not even gonna hide that. But when you come back with the mentality of this is the moment to rip off the Band-Aid and just put on that fresh thing, like smear of Neosporin so that it can heal. Like,
Mhm.
I went back knowing that the hardest part is over. The
Okay.
hardest part is not the divorce. It's not the moving out. It's not the figuring out how to divide things. It's not. I see that all as logistics,
Mhm.
annoying logistics to get to what was the hardest part, finding someone that you might feel is it.
Mhm.
The hardest part is having the realization that life is something else. The hard part is realizing what you truly want in life. The hardest part is getting to that and being like, "Yes, I'm gonna say yes to these things that I know over time, over the long haul, like, my gut has been telling me I haven't been doing what I truly want." That hardest part is over. Now I just need to close up shop. And when I took it from that standpoint, I had a very different demeanor about how I did things. I
Mm.
was very kind about the way I went through the divorce. I was very kind with myself, and I'm not saying like, "Oh, I didn't shed a tear, I was tough," you know? No, I would get a bottle of nice wine and a box of tissues and just be like, "All right, tonight I'm probably not gonna sleep, and we're gonna drink some wine and cry." And, like, that was just it. But I saw that as this is part of it because the faster I can get over this hard part, the faster I will be at the life that I truly wanted, which is why, like, we've been talking about dates a lot. Things accelerated really quickly getting into YouTube, getting into the life I have now because I made sure to shut down that old life as quickly and as efficiently as possible so that I could get to the good life now.
Wow. Wow, I love that. These are gonna be some great excerpts for me right there.
Yeah, you just gotta jump in that cold water. Don't dip your toe in, like, just jump in.
Yeah. Well, you got to a point and you said the hardest point, and the way I interpret it is the hardest point is getting to that point of decision. Once you feel decided, then it is actually easier to act. Do you feel like were there any tools or resources, therapy, meditation, anything like that that got you to that point of being decided, or was it just these little tiny incremental realizations along the way? Like, were you doing any sort of spiritual practice, mental practice, anything like that that helped you get to this point of decision?
That's the end of this interview so far. If you want to watch the other half of this interview or see how another woman reinvented herself over the age of 35, you can click on this next video here or on the playlist there or in the description box below. And please let me know, how would you reinvent yourself? Please write your answer in the comments below. And if you like this video, the number one way that you can say thanks to me is to hit the subscribe button and then hit the thumbs up button for this video.